Ray. Thank you for joining me on the Here and Now show. Thank you for joining me on the Here and Now show. I'm your host, Lavonda Ray. And if you tuned into my show before, you know that I'm coming from the Midwest where we come in and show out. Gotta love your city. Hello, somebody. And if you tuned into my show before, you know that the Here and Now show is a show where I've took real live events and turned them into a positive living. So if you have any questions or any comments, feel free to leave in the comments box. With that being said, let's start the show. Welcome back to the Here and Now show. It's your girl. I'm feeling blessed, and you should too. And as always, I'm so grateful that you guys are joining me, spending your evening with me today. Now, I know it's 6 o'clock in the evening, so grab your snack, grab that little evening snack, or grab that evening meal, or your favorite snack, or grab that cup of coffee or your tea, sweet tea, or if you're anything like me, you could go and get those secret chips that you call yourself hiding from everybody. Don't worry about it though. This is a Judge Freeman's place where we can sit here and have fun. It's judgment free zone, and cause today's conversation, maybe it's funny, it's real. It might be a little bit petty. Today's show is minding my business is free. So why are people not doing that? Oh my God. Listen, gas money costs, grocery costs, paying rent costs, minding your business completely free. No membership required, no subscriptions required, no monthly payments. Some people just refuse to do it. So today I'm talking about the nosy people, the audacity of some folks, the things we said that we would never do, and look at us, we doing it on a daily. And why getting older feels more like I want to go home and take a nap, or whether you're just being petty or protecting your peace, or avoiding, and before anybody gets offended, I'm sorry, I am getting a tongue twist today. I think it's because it's the evening, but before anybody gets offended, if the shoe fits, wear it, lace it, and put that on, because let's get into it. And as always, you guys know that before we get into it, I gotta have my little jazz in class because you guys know I love me some jazz music. It sets the scene, it kind of sets the stage. So for a few seconds, I'm gonna play my jazz before we get into it, and we're gonna let it see what happens. A few seconds. Welcome back. Welcome back. So before I left, I said that today's topic was going to be minding your business because it's free. Why are so many people concerned what everyone else is doing? I mean, if you look at it like, well, we're all human beings and it's only natural for me to be concerned, but nah, fuck it, stay out my business. You know what I'm saying? Hello to how you guys doing? I'm glad you guys are joining me. How you doing? So, today's topic, like I said, I wanted to announce. Oh, thank you. I love my little Kansas City shirt. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. So, minding your own business because it's free. So, sometimes, like for me, you could post a picture. Somebody's going to have something to say. It could be the greatest picture you ever post. But then they'll be like, oh, that's a good picture. But like, look at her ankles. Like, come on now. You get a promotion. Somebody got a problem with it. Somebody got a problem. You lose weight. They got a problem with it. You're too big. You're too thin. Can I just be me? Can I just be who I want to be? If I want to sneak a snack or two, let me do it because you know why? It's my business. If I want to miss a meal or two, I can do that because you know why? It's my business. I can do it, you know. And if you're breathing too hard, there are some people that even get offended. You know, why are you breathing so hard? I have asthma, for one. Now, actually, I don't have asthma, but that's how petty people can be, you know. Um, but here's a funny thought. I had a funny thought. And you guys know I love to tell my stories. So, you know, stories are designed to be funny and sometimes set examples. And sometimes you can be like, oh, I can relate to that. So, you know, but do you guys remember when gossip was just like face to face? I mean, it's still that way. I mean, it's still a thing. Don't think people can't still sit around and gossip, but it's even more advanced now because like you got Facebook, you got Instagram investigators, TikTok dictators, and TikTok freaking detectives. Some of us know more about strangers than we do know about what's going on in our own lives. It's so easy. I think that as humans, I think that we tend to overcare sometimes. You know, but then again, you know, that's why they have talk shows, right? Because gossip is the cousin of, I think I know your business. Hello, somebody. At least they think they know your business, you know, because that's what gossip is, what they think they know, you know. At least they think they know this or they think they know that. But the question, you know, many people may never find out, you know, is why people gossip. I don't think we can ever find a correct answer to that question, you know. But that was a question somebody asked me prior to doing this show. You know, I was sharing it with my friend. I'm like, I'm gonna do this show, and they was like, well, once you ask people, why do people spend so much time watching other people? Well, okay, if you're a stalker, um, hopefully you're not, you know, because then you would spend a whole lot of time stalking someone, and that's scary. So if you're doing that, please stop. Just stop it. They don't want you stalking them. They just want to be free. But if you're not a stalker, you know, sometimes it's easier to focus on other people than to focus on your real reality. So you spend time, you know, investigating other people, you know. Um, and I think that if half the time, if people spent half that time trying to fix their own lives instead of worrying about your lives, fuck that fuck around and be millionaires right now. You know what I mean? Like, hello, family and my friends, you know. Have you ever had somebody all up in your business? So this is where the story is gonna get, okay? And so you could type a comment, be like, yeah, but you could tell me that later. But let me tell you guys a short story. I just mentioned I was going to tell you a story, but I was warming up to it. I like to call this one too much dip on your chip. Yeah, translating means too much dip on your chip. If I translate that, it means you're doing too much and mind your business. So back in my younger days, and don't you guys start to laughing and thinking like, what do you mean your younger days? I'm still young, okay? I'm still young. I still got it, but you know, I had a younger life as we all did. We were younger before. You know, so back in my younger days, you know, I had just graduated from high school. You know, I had already got accepted to, you know, to a college in the fall. So not only did I graduate, I was also moving to another town, you know, a new school. And guess what? I had my own place. So I wasn't technically living on campus. I was living off campus. Hello, have some fun, whatever. I wanted, you know, to live off campus. Speed pass, you know, I'm moving to my place. You know, I'm moving to this neighborhood that's off campus, you know, and there's other students there, you know, but I don't know them. They don't know me. And so, you know, day one, you know, I'm moving into my place, you know, I set up everything, you know, so, you know, as for anybody that's moved, you know, to a new city or, you know, starting college or you're living on your own for the first time, it's uncomfortable, but it's real. It's reality. You get uncomfortable, but you get comfortable as time changes with your situation because I lived it. I know life be life. But after I moved all my things in, you know, I'm sitting outside, you know, and I go outside, I'm sitting on my porch. Why did I do that? But I don't know. Maybe because I was bored, or maybe because I was being nosy. Because the neighbors, oh, they were live. Oh my gosh, they were turned up. Do you hear me? They were turned up. They were laughing, drinking, dancing, 420, happy. The music was loud, and it was just, you know, being music. You know what I mean? Well, And so, the music is just, it's moving and it's grooving and everybody's grooving to the music. And I'm sitting next door, and I have that smile on my face, like, hi, hey, you guys see me? I'm a lot of fun. I like to hang out. I like to laugh. Like, look at me. I'm a cool person. And I'm sitting there, giving that look. I didn't say it, but I'm thinking it like, hey, you guys invite me. Well, needless to say, after 30 minutes, I still didn't have an invite. I'm still over there like, doo 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 doo. 45 minutes later, still no invite. So at this point, I'm thinking, you know what? These people are so rude. Like, I'm a cool person. They have no idea how cool I am. I could be cool, so I get up and I'm thinking I'm gonna go home, inside my home rather, and I'm gonna cook me some popcorn and I'm gonna watch crime stories and I'm gonna have a party of my own. Well, as needless to say, hello, as soon as I was about to walk on the inside of my home, the neighbors, was like, hey, would you like something to drink or come over and hang out with us? I'm like, hello, hello, Friday night. I'm like, all righty then. So I'm over there. I play it cool. I go over there. I'm hanging out with a bunch of strangers. We're laughing. We're vibing. Everyone's getting along. It feels really good, to be around new people because, everyone's strangers at first. So about an hour or so in, I'm there, and one of the individuals say to me, we was reluctant to invite you over because it didn't look like you like to hang out, and it looked like that we seen your boyfriend, and it looked like your boyfriend. We don't want to be disrespectful, but we didn't want to ask you. And I thought to myself, well, wow, you guys just painted a whole picture of my life within 30 to 45 minutes. My heart dropped. Like, I'm like, oh, needless to say, I cleared up the story. To be clear, the guy that they thought was my boyfriend, oh my gosh, he was not my boyfriend. He drops off my medications. He comes every month. I don't know. I don't know. He dropped off my medication. I have no idea who he is, but I assume from the outside looking in, he looked like my boyfriend. I don't know. I just take my medicine I signed for. What more do it looks like? I don't know. On the outside looking in, they was in my business before I even had business. Needless to say, like I said, I cleared up the air. And then I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, wow, I, the whole boyfriend thing threw me. And then I explained it. And what does it look like to not drink? Like, what do you mean I look like someone who doesn't drink or someone who doesn't like to party? What does that look like? I was so confused. I didn't say that. I just said that, I'm a fun person. And that guy right there is definitely not my boyfriend. I am single and trying to mingle and go to college. So that was the way things were, but here we are, people say things and make their own positions. So that's why I said the name of that was Too Much Dip on Their Chip because they had a lot of dip on their chip to have the whole picture. They painted a picture of my life with their own paintbrush. And it wasn't even true. Why? Mainly because they wasn't minding their business. Which brings me to the fact of another topic that I want to talk about. For me, have you ever, when you were younger, said, oh, I promise I would never do this? I swear I would never do that. Like myself, I swear that I would never, ever get excited over kitchen appliances. Now I'm like at Walmart, like, ooh, look at that air fryer. Like, who am I? Right? Who am I? I used to be like, okay, I don't know about you guys, but maybe you used to be like, I'm gonna go to bed, stay up all late and I'm gonna be up all night. I don't want to go to sleep. I want to stay up all night. Well, now I want to be in bed by 8:30, at least in the house. I don't want you to even text me. Once I get in, shut the door, leave me alone. I'm at home. I used to be able to party all night. I guess when you're young, you can do that. And I used to be able to do that. Now I'm sitting in the crib before the party. I'm getting dressed up before the party. And not only to get dressed up to go to bed. Like, what? So, you guys, what is something that you swore that you would never do? One thing that I swear that I would never do also is probably do everything that my parents wanted me to do correctly. And I end up doing it because our parents, I mean, sometimes as you get older, you turn out to be somewhat like your parents. Well, not exactly like your parents, but perhaps have the trait of your parents. Like one day you're cool, and then the next day you're complaining about gas prices and leaving the light on all night, like turning it off. How much that's gonna cost you leaving it on? I swear, as I was younger, I promise you, I said I would not drink. I would be like, hey, no, that is not cool. I don't want to drink. Years later, hello, drink. I started drinking, a little bit here, a little bit of there. That might come with, growing and growth and understanding I can only drink this much or I could drink this much before it's too much. You don't want to drink over your limit. And if you have sworn something, if there's something that you guys ever said, oh, I promise I won't do that when I get older, and then you do it. It's funny how life can be like that. Can we talk about that? Life be life. And then I was sitting here and I was thinking, like, random conversation. Can we talk about how confident people are? And I'm not talking about confident in your looks because you should always be confident. I'm talking about that confidence in people that say, hey, can I borrow some money? And then they disappear and then come back and ask you for some more. Like, no, like, what the hell, Leonte? What are we doing? You ask me for money and then you disappear and now you need it back. I'm talking about the confidence in that person to continue to ask when you've been owing me for years at a time. Or the people that say, they hurt you, the ones that hurt you, and they come around and ask you, well, why are you distant? The audacity of the people. Hi, how you doing, Carl? How you doing? Hi, honey's auntie. Yes, I will be. The audacity of people, the nerve of you, like, because I chose to choose myself and you hurt me. And now you're wondering why I'm distant. You know what you can do? You can go to hell. Because I'm distant for a good reason. And excuse me, why is it that people act so shocked when they experience the consequences? Because accountability, it is very uncomfortable. Hello, somebody. Now, how about being blessed, stressed? I don't need a nap. You relate to that, you are blessed, but you're still stressed a little bit, you know, but you still need a nap, okay? I love God. I love my faith, as you all should too. I love, whatever your belief in it, you believe in it. And I get a hello, somebody. But the older I get, and the older that we all get, I would think that the less drama you should have to deal with. You know, you shouldn't have to worry about, people coming up confronting you anymore because at maybe in that time of your life, you were into hot shit. You were into, people arguing and going to every conversation and making it a point to make an appearance to be loud. But then as you get older, it's kind of like, I don't got time for that. So, like me, they'll say, hey, you want to go out? I'll say, no. But you guys want to stay home and catch a movie and eat some popcorn? Yeah. And fall asleep? Yep, absolutely. That is me. Okay. Okay. Well, I'm glad that you joined. I am so glad that you joined. And if any of you guys have any questions after, I'm get done streaming, I'll be on here after the show and we can talk and you guys can tell me or ask any question that you feel comfortable asking. So, does anybody like me get excited when plans are canceled? I don't know. I guess it's because, I get older and I'm like, I'm not excited. Oh gosh, I want to go out. And then I get dressed and I'm all ready. And then to find out the plans are canceled, I am excited. Hello. Thank you. How are you doing? How are you doing? I hope you're blessed. Because, like I said before, when I was younger, I did like to party. Now I'm sitting there like, when is this party going to end? You know, is there chairs at this party? Is there food? Is there food and chairs? You know, wisdom comes with age. And what changes all of that when you're asking, oh my God, I don't really want to go to the party. I don't want to do this because you get older and sometimes you got to ask those questions. Thank you very much. I appreciate you very much. What changes? Your wisdom changes. For me, now my knees are changing. I can't be dancing all night. Now that is serious for me, because that's something that changed about me. Not only the growth I was growing inside. And there's a difference between being petty and being protecting your peace. Now, let me say what I mean. Now, some people, like for instance, let's say I'm being petty. And normally, my people next door, my neighbors, they playing their music and they vibing and grabbing. And I don't have a problem with it. But when I'm being petty and pretending to protect my peace, I don't have a problem with the music. So you might ask yourself, Now, what is the difference? Can you tell me what is protecting my peace and not being petty? I'll tell you. Yes, I do have grandchildren. I'll tell you. Um, Protecting your peace is when you not no longer allow toxic people to prove anything. That's protecting your peace. You don't have to prove nothing to toxic people. You let them go. Blocking is also protecting your peace. Refusing to argue is also protecting your peace. And when does it look like it's petty? It looks petty when you're doing it to get revenge. I scream peace, not revenge. And yes, I do have grandchildren. And actually, here shortly, I'll have some questions for you guys to ask me. All the questions you want. Well, not all the questions, but many questions as you desire for the time that I'll be here after show. So, what I say to that, I choose peace, not revenge. And you should too. Now, can we normalize moving on? I don't say this because I'm saying this because I don't need closure, and sometimes we don't need closure. We just need a healthy snack because some people will spend years, years, years looking for closure. Sometimes closure is just realizing that they wasn't your person. You know, I used to be a person that seek closure. I was a closure seeking maniac. If you didn't tell me something and why it happened and what happened, I could spend days, hours, even months just trying to investigate on when I'm going to get my closure. But then I realized as I started to grow that now I choose a cheeseburger and a good night's sleep. Oh, my voice just went out. I choose cheeseburger and a good night's sleep. Do you really need closure though? Because you really don't. Sometimes you just need acceptance. Sometimes people want closure because they need acceptance. So you don't always need closure. But what do you think? Which brings me to the mama and my grandma. The things that they told us, that our grandmother told us, or that our mother told us, that were actually true. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, as I was growing up, I had a father, and he told me things. I had uncles, cousins, but something about when my grandmother said certain things, and then I reflected on my adult life, I was like, wow, this really does happen, right? I remember my grandmother, she was telling me one thing that stuck to me. She said, like every Sunday, let me give you a preview. Every Sunday, I would ask my grandma for change, like, can I have some money? 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 And she would give it to me often. And then one Sunday, she said, baby, money don't grow on trees. And I thought, no, it doesn't grow on trees. It grows in your pocket, right? But no, she was right. Money definitely doesn't grow on trees. That was a true statement, because if it did grow on trees, there wouldn't even be no trees here. We would be out of trees, right? Another thing, and you guys probably could relate, that was told to me when I was younger that I seen as an adult. My mother said to me one time, she said, every smiling person in your face ain't your friend. And she said that several betrayal friendships ago, after being hurt by several people and going through the trials of finding a real friend and actually knowing if they really are your friends. That's what she told me, that everyone that smiles is not your friend. And I understood that as I got older. I understood a lot of things as I got older. Or the one famous, the one that I always remember that would say, you'll figure it out when you get older. Oh my God. Or you'll understand it when you get older. Oh, I hated that one because it's so true. Because when I started having my own children, I understood that. And as I got older, I understood it as well. You don't necessarily have to understand children to understand that. You understand that you don't make certain choices as you get older because the consequences could be completely heavy. But one advice that my parents gave me that always was true was I probably ignored everything that they said. Yeah, live and learn, right? But the older I get and the more that I grow and the more mature that I became, I realized, hey, I might need to apologize to my mother and my grandmother and tell them, you know what? Life do be life, but you was right. Money don't grow on trees. Everyone that smiles in my face is not my friend. So it was like, you have to get older to grow. She was right. So I have a few questions that someone sent me, and then you guys can start questioning me if you would like. One of the questions was, why do people gossip? Well, I think because self improvement is harder than discussing someone else's life. You rather discuss what's going on with Billy, Bob, and Jane than discuss your own life because you don't want to face your own life. I don't know. That's just my opinion. Maybe you think different. Um, then another one was, why are I don't know what they meant. Why is being I don't know what they meant by that one. So I'm gonna skip that question. I'm sorry about that one. Okay. And the other question was, why do we hold on to trauma? Hmm. Well, I personally don't like to hold on to drama, but I think if you hold on to drama, it's because sometimes peace feels more, feels uncomfortable. And so when someone starts to show you peace, you don't know how to react. So you just come with drama. Um, and what is the secret of happiness? I'll tell you. It's minding your business, drinking water, protecting your peace, and taking a nap. Okay, well, family and friends, what a show today. I know that it was random. Today was a very random show. I just came at it, and I appreciate all you guys for tuning in, tapping in with me because sometimes, you know, life be life, and we discover that minding our business is still free. Also, protecting your peace, also choosing it wisely, taking a nap, drinking water, and no more stressing over people who don't pay your bills. Don't stress over them because life is short. You should laugh more, love harder, forgive yourself, and don't forget to enjoy your journey while you're on your journey. I appreciate each and every one of you guys for listening, for your support, for your subscribe. I have some good shows, I have some okay shows, but either way, you guys are always here showing in and showing out. You guys are the reason that my podcast keeps growing. I keep meeting new people, building a positive platform, and I want to thank you guys for that. But before I get out of here, you guys know what time it is. It is that time where you can ask me questions. That's right, or just talk about something. I'm going to be here for another 5, 10 minutes. If you want to tell me a short story, tell me. If you just want to say hello, say it because these conversations matter. I like to talk even after the show is over. Does that hello somebody? Because while y'all sitting here thinking about what to ask me at any time you feel like answering a question or you want to say just hello, how you doing? Feel free. I'm here for another 10 minutes. But I do have some questions for you guys. Okay, first I'll answer this question here from Carl. Do you have grandchildren? Yes, I do. I have two wonderful, beautiful grandsons, and I love them to death. One of the questions is, if you could have dinner with any celebrity, whether they're dead or alive, who would it be? Oh my. Um, and you guys can answer at any time. I think that I would like to have dinner with Kevin Hart, okay? Because he's funny. I think that I'm funny. We could sit at the table, we could be joking and just become real jokety joke friends. Now I'm not as funny as Kevin, of course, but you know, kind of close. Not close either, but however, uh, and anytime if you think that there's a celebrity that you would like to have dinner with, feel free to leave it in a comment. Another question I would like to ask is if let's see, uh, what is one thing you said you'll never do, but somehow you end up doing it anyways? Okay, so me, like I said, my something I said I would never do. I said I would never drink, and then every once in a while I would start sipping on my little wine coolers. But don't judge me. Let me know. Do not judge me at all. So again, feel free. Feel free to post your comment at any time. And there's another question. If you had if your life had to be a song, what theme would it be? For me, I just heard this new song called I Celebrate Me. And I would think that that would be the song for me because I celebrate myself, and you as well should celebrate yourself. You should always celebrate you one way or another because if you don't clap for yourself, no one else will clap for you. So you better clap for you, even if no one else is clapping. Clap for yourself and pat your own self on the shoulder. And guess what, you guys? I have a special secret, you guys. Not really a secret because I'm saying it out loud. But your girl, I'm about to launch new merchandise. That's right, for the Here and Now show. You guys have been loyal listeners. You guys show up. You guys have been subscribing. You guys have been there for me, and it's for me. I want to give love back to you guys for supporting me. So I am going to be launching a new brand. It will consist of I will have sweatshirts, t-shirts, jackets, hoodies, pins, coffee cups, pins, pretty much anything that you would need to represent and support the Here and Now show. Now I know that times is a little tough, prices is high, but not with me. No, 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 not with me. You ain't got to sell your left shoe, and you ain't got to be borrowing money from your cousin that you still owe from 2023. No, baby, you ain't got to do that. Nope. My merch is very reasonable, and I have special deals. And not only that, shipping and handling. Hello. So yes, so whether you're across the street or across the country, I got you. I got you covered. So I will be showing that on my stream in the next month. I will be, I'll either be wearing it or, I would let you guys know that it is out and where you can purchase. And at the same time, I will put it on the community wall on my YouTube page. So look out for that. And let me say, I truly, truly appreciate you guys. I truly appreciate you. I thank you. And remember, take a leap of faith because dreams definitely come true. So if you have any questions, feel free to question me. This is the time. I'll be here for another 10 minutes. And you guys know as I do my questions, I like to play a little jazz in the background while we set. And maybe you'll think of a question you guys say, and maybe you won't. But even if you do, or even if you don't, I'll still be here next week, back in the same place with great conversation. So let's just say here for a moment. And again, any questions, or if you have a short story, or you just want to talk about it and say hello, we're doing that too. I believe that all my subscribers, all you guys are important to me, and your voice matters. So whether you want to say, what, today was a good day, I'm a little shy. I don't want to, actually get on the camera, but I'll type to the camera, and that's fine with me. I accept it all. And as always, still shop Marshall's Books and More. That is also a launch of my clothing brand that you can go shop at Marshall's Books and More with the one L. There is merchandise there. It is faith based. It is take a leap of faith because dreams do come true. I took a leap of faith, and my dream is steadily coming true, and yours can too. So yeah, I thank you guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'll be here for another couple more minutes before I let you guys get in for the evening because it's going on 7 o'clock. I know you guys are like, I'm ready to eat. Anybody get any great dinner ideas or had any? For myself, I kind of keep it simple because I'm a pasta eater. So pasta was on my menu. Yes. So again, I want to thank you guys for tuning into the Here and Now show. Thank you for setting in with me this evening. You guys are blessed, and I will see you guys again. Same place, different time, Tuesday, Thursday. Thank you for tuning into the Here and Now show.